Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Week 5 multimedia presentation. In this presentation, I will go over a public sector union. I will talk about a peer-reviewed journal article I found, and also a news story on Wisconsin's Act 10. So the public sector union I chose to report on was the California Teachers Association, or the CTA, and the CTA was founded in 1863, and it can be considered one of the most powerful public sector unions in California. The CTA represents the public school teachers throughout the state, and it has a member base of approximately 300,000 members. In regard to the Janus decision, the CTA saw a small initial drop in membership after the decision, but it was very small. It was only about 2,700 teachers that dropped from the membership pool. So compared to 300,000, that's really nothing. But according to the news article posted on Yahoo, the decision could be the cause of the current recruiting issues that they're having. And according to CTA reports, in 2019, after the Janus ruling, they reported to have about 18,000 employees who were eligible to join that did not. And then speeding up to 2023, that number almost doubled to 36,000 employees that have not joined. So it can be speculative, but it could be seen that the Janus decision could be the reason that the union ended the 2022-2023 school year with 38,000 fewer members than it had to begin in the first post-Janus school year in 2018 and 19. And there's a chart there that I found to represent that data. So moving on to my peer-reviewed journal article I chose. So the one I chose is by Peter Schuck. He wrote this in 2023, and it's titled "Philip Howard's Not Accountable: Rethinking the Constitutionality of Public Employee Unions." And this journal article is actually a review of a book written by Philip Howard, which discusses the opposition to public sector unions. And Howard's opinion is that they are unconstitutional. So Peter Schuck agrees with the points that Philip Howard makes in his reasoning for opposing public sector unions. However, he does not agree with the case that they're unconstitutional. But what really interested me about this article was hearing the opposition perspective of public unions. And what Howard believed was that public sector unions were really flawed in that they were not in the best interest of the taxpayer. And that kind of goes against the values of us as public administrators. That's what we do. We're here to serve the taxpayer interests. What Howard believes is that the unions kind of wield their power by negotiating contracts that are really kind of fiscal entitlements, which includes like overstaffing, overtime for minor schedule changes, pensions spiked by rigged overtime in the last year of work. So he thinks there's a lot of corruption that's involved and feels that if their demands aren't met, that the unions have the power to demand resolution by a union-approved arbiter. So it's kind of the game is rigged for everybody. He also continues to argue that they also push their power through massive campaign donations to the same politicians who they're going to be engaging in labor negotiations with, which in effect can be seen as sitting on both sides of the bargaining table. So in my opinion, if this is actually an activity that's taking place, I would have to agree with Howard too as well, but it's going to require some more research on my end. But it definitely has piqued my interest in the topic, and I'll definitely be doing that, and it could affect my journal entry for this week too as well. And then finally moving on to my news story that I found on Act 10. So this news article, or the news story is by PBS Wisconsin, and it was actually from 2021, so it's a decade after the implementation of Act 10. And at a high level, Act 10, named the Budget Repair Bill, was a very obviously controversial bill that passed in 2011. And the bill included reductions in public employee benefits, higher pensions and healthcare contributions by employees, and then other cost-saving measures as well. But it also included changes to the collection of union dues and mandates, including ending the requirement of fair share dues even before the Janus decision. It also limited collective bargaining by capping wage increases based on consumer price index, and the increases can only be applied to the wages and not any additional salary of the employees. And what I learned from the news story is that all of these changes led to Wisconsin going from being one of the top 10 states in employee benefit spending to below the national average, and for pupil spending for schools going from above national average to below national average. And obviously the cost reductions worked, and it actually led to the reduction in taxes for taxpayers too as well. It relates to the lessons from this week's learning in that Act 10 had an effect on public employee unions and collective bargaining, which was the topics of our reading this week. And thank you very much for watching my presentation.